principal of Glastonbury Stud at Scone is Duncan Grimley, who's a mate. And my favourite Inglis yearling sale story revolves around a horse that Duncan still owns by the name of Fastnet Rock. Now, Fastnet Rock was passed in at the 2003 sales. It failed to reach its reserve price of $300,000, which only covered the service fee of Dad Danehill. And the year before, the full brother had fetched $850,000. So such misfortune for Duncan and the owners, they were forced to hold on to Fastnet Rock, which didn't win as a 2-year-old, but as a 3-year-old won the Darley, the Coolmore, both Group 2, won the Lightning Stakes, and then was asked to carry 57 kilograms in the Oakley Plate and triumphed there. So this lineage with Fastnet Rock has continued for me and my son Andrew, because we're involved with Duncan in Believe, which is now a mother. But as a 3-year-old filly, she finished third in the ATC Oaks, beaten less than one length. And Believe has had a couple of foals, the most recent one being this pesky, perky little spirited colt by Dundeal. We're having big hopes for him. And earlier, Believe's first foal was this big athletic colt by Piero. And I'm delighted to say that he's going to be offered at the forthcoming Easter Inglis yearling sales. So in the true romance of racing, we can only dream that maybe we will unearth another Fastnet Rock.
And Believe heads off Dixie Blossoms. Believe wins the last.
Completing our series of features on Aquis Farm stallions, this week we focus on their Queensland base. This spring, Aquis has welcomed the tough and talented Dubious to their roster, having competed at the highest level in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Perth, taking on and beating the very best on offer in only 2 seasons of racing. Jimmy, the Queensland Canungra base of Aquis Farm is obviously a very special place for the Fung family, isn't it? How are things going up there?
Yes, of course. It is very close to the Fung family's heart. This is where Aquis began. This is our base, and it's going really well. The stallion roster is increasing every year.
Dubious is ticking on well.
Beautiful new horse to add to the roster. The first one we'll talk about, Dubious, is by Not a Single Doubt. We know what a fabulous sire he's been, and this year getting the Golden Slipper winner fun and really takes the cake. But we know Not a Single Doubt will be a great sire of sires too.
He absolutely will be. And the good thing with him is he induces speed in his progeny, and that's what makes good stallions in Australia. Well,
he started out that Breeders' Plate. I mean, that is a race won by some pretty illustrious names in the past.
And he won the fastest ever Breeders' Plate till date. That means he's faster than Capitalist, he's faster than Vancouver, Snitzel and Piero.
Dubious in front.
He was a really well-travelled horse too. He went to Brisbane, he won at Eagle Farm in December, and then of course he came out and he was second to Exhilarate in the Magic Millions 2-year-old Classic.
If there were frequent flying miles, he would have definitely won an award for that. But no, he loved traveling. And the thing about this horse was he was a gutsy 2-year-old. He took it all in his stride. It never fazed him. New South Wales, Queensland, back down, back up. He did it all, you know. And he was still up and running in the May of next year, where he won a group race in Brisbane. So just a gutsy horse.
But Dubious has quickly dashed up on the outside of Zarsum.
I remember watching, he just kept racing, you know, he would be in another race. But yeah, that was the Champagne Classic in Brisbane. And those Brisbane 2-year-old races, I mean, they are now being seen as real races for the good colts who go on to become stallions.
Absolutely. And you just look at the history of those races, even a horse like Zoostar. He won a race in Brisbane as a 2-year-old, so it shows you that good quality horses win those races, and trainers these days are very happy to travel horses everywhere to win black type races.
I mean, one of the most extraordinary performances, he was thrown in, as we said, into so many challenges. The Kingsford Smith Stakes, and this is against the older horses as a 2-year-old, the tough horses such as the Bostonian.
Well, he drew barrier 14, which didn't help his cause, unfortunately, but he still rattled home. He finished 5th, beaten a length and a half at weight for age against older horses as a 2-year-old, where most horses would have gone for a spell and a deserved break. Not Dubious. He was in the race and he was strong to the line, and that just shows you that he just took all in his stride. He's just that sort of a horse that he was a good doer. You know, he was built for the 2-year-old career, and he thrived in the stables of Kieran Ma.
It makes a lot of sense for him to be in Queensland, doesn't it? I mean, these sorts of very precocious 2-year-olds and his nuggety physique, etc., you know, the not a single doubt physique, he's really well suited, and having performed up there.
Well, look, he could have stood on any roster. He could have even stood for us in New South Wales. But we've always believed in standing really good horses up in Queensland, and that's where we started off, and that's our main base. And he just suits the breeding industry there, and that's why he's there.
And again, more young stallions with new foals coming through, Kobayashi, the Mission, Performer, you know, there's a lot more there, you know, giving a lot of variety to breeders in Queensland.
Well, as I always say, we are a young operation. Our stallion roster is young and upcoming, and just look at what happened with Spill the Beans. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but just look at the way his 2-year-olds have gone. And that is because we've supported them heavily with our brood mares, and the breeding industry has backed us in producing these good stallions. And that's what all of these horses have been given. They've been given an opportunity. There's nothing to say the Mission or Performer or Kobayashi would not be the next big thing in Queensland. And you look at the way the Queensland breeding bench supports these young horses. You look at the rise of Spirit of Boom, Better Than Ready, and Spill the Beans for that matter. The mares there can definitely make a good stallion.
A great range of value stallions at Aquis Farms Queensland base. Coming up on Bred to Win, Darley Australia's Barley Ward Thomas with a story about a wonderful steeplechaser in Arrowfield Studs, the horse who made you love racing.